All right, let's go. So, hey everyone, welcome back to the NWSL Rewind. This is week 3, and football has just, taken up all our time. 3 weeks of the Challenge Cup have gone by. Romel, football, we've been waiting for it. It's here finally. How has it been keeping you busy?
I think this week was like possibly the closest to what you can call an overdose because there were matches left, right, and center. And like honestly, as someone who has been, following women's football for a while now, it's I think I have no words to explain how happy I was to not just be able to watch football, but to be able to watch football from all across the world. Right? We were looking at some of the NT matches. We were looking at the WSL, the FAWSL. We were looking at the NWSL. So yeah, so many matches, and all of it like accessible, especially in India, and that was like just phenomenal. I was like super happy.
Yeah, that's the beauty of just providing streams. You have demand for it. Second, you make it accessible, people will watch. I've got new people to watch this week. Like I introduce people to matches. I said this is the title decider. Go watch that, or this is the one to watch in the NWSL. So it's great that it's accessible across the world, not behind a paywall. I think that's really important. If it's free, that's when people can actually access it, and that's how you build demand from there. But yeah, talking about the national team, obviously the players have this week in the NWSL come back from the international break, and we've seen a few high profile figures actually make a mark very quickly as well. But before getting into this 12 goal mayhem of a week that it was, what was your spotlight or highlight of the week?
I think my highlight has to be you know it's basically a coming of age story. Basically. And we saw that across teams, across matches that we saw this weekend, and the story was just that it was about these new fresh faces that were coming up, and it was not just about them performing, but it was about the sort of buzz that they created. Commentators going completely wild over what was happening on the field. We saw Twitter going crazy with people just talking and sharing, some amazing snippets of skill that we saw from all of these guys, and it was just so incredible to see. I mean, because what that actually means is that we've got an audience that has evolved now, and it's no longer just the stars on the NT that are like bringing people in to watch a match. We are seeing appreciation for skill. We are seeing appreciation for people who are not, the first names that you think of when you think of, the U.S. women's national team, for example. So I think this was uh, a weekend of just sheer joy as someone who's been watching football for such a long time, because you're going beyond the struggles of having to try and sell something to an audience, because we're suddenly seeing an audience that is already appreciated, and an audience that's looking beyond those names of the back of the. So yeah, I think that was my highlight of the weekend.
Yeah, I think for me, the term soccer mom got a new, was taken to a new level this week in the NWSL, and I think that was my highlight of the week. Especially seeing, let's say, like Alex Morgan assisted to Sid Leroux, who gets a goal, and then Jess McDonald getting a goal. Amy Rodriguez, I mean, she has my heart, honestly. She is just one of those warriors who also got a goal for Kansas City. And obviously, I just think that they're just setting examples every time they step on the field. They're just setting that example, and they're just paving the way and actually making something possible for the younger generation, for new moms who want to start families but also be professional athletes. It's possible, and I think it was really cool to see that happen in the NWSL this weekend. So just a lot of moms doing really cool things on the field. So that was my spotlight of the week. But getting into these matches, this we're going to have a lot to talk about. It's gonna get quite intense here. We saw 12 goals in the last 4 games of the NWSL, but 7 of them were in this match we're about to talk about. So we'll go in chronological order in the matches how they were played. The first match, obviously, Gotham FC 4 and North Carolina Courage 3. Now, this was a game that was at 4:30 a.m., Romel. You were up, I was up to watch it as well. Your thoughts on the game and your player of the match?
I think this time around, let's like switch it up because we're getting a little too predictable as well with that.
I
So why
like
don't
that.
you go for what you're doing?
Okay,
Tell
fine.
us.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so Gotham FC obviously versus North Carolina Courage. This game was, I mean, you predicted Gotham going through to the final. I predicted North Carolina Courage. This was the match to watch in the East Division, and it it really didn't disappoint. It was one spectacle of a game. Starting off, I think both teams just forgot the concept of defending, and it was a bit funny to see that. But I think the goalkeeper coaches on both ends were just having heart attacks on the sideline, wondering what's going on, because we saw 4 goals in the span of what 6 to 8 minutes, and we had Davinia score twice in the span of 60 seconds. I think this game was just all around attack, 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 and I mean, we can't. I don't think we can get into all the goals. It's gonna take us forever. But Mitch Purse is really setting that, getting Vlatko's attention, saying that, hey, I'm this attacking player, and to see her up in the national team would be fantastic alongside Kristen Press, Alex Morgan. But she really, really bossed that game, and her first goal, it not only gave Gotham the first lead, it gave them confidence. It set the tone for the match, and it just showed the viewers of NWSL what Mitch Purse is about. I think that goal was fantastic. Yeah, what else? So we have this battle, right? We have it 3-3 at 50 minutes, and we're thinking, okay, this has been a goal fest up to now. What's going to happen? But then we have this drought for the next 40 minutes where nobody scores, and we reach 90 minutes, and Evelyn Vian has come on as a substitute, and we're wondering what's going to happen. And then 90+2, a backheel flick to win the game. I mean, that just doesn't get better than that. And I wanted to quickly draw a parallel to the same day, in fact, I think about 12 hours later was the Chelsea versus Man City title decided in the FAWSL. And someone on Twitter said that, that game ended 2-all. And someone on Twitter said that none of the teams won because they didn't bring on their Canadian. And I found that really funny because Jessie Fleming and Janine Becky, obviously for both sides, were still on the bench. And it's a great parallel for Evelyn Vian, who came on as a sub. And what a super sub that was. She got the game winner with an insane flick, but obviously credit to how they changed possession in the midfield and how Onumonu went down the right side and brought the ball in. I think we often forget the assists and the build up to the goal. But yeah, overall, my analysis on this game was just fantastic. I think the defenders have a lot of work to do on both ends. The goalkeepers are going to be a bit worried if this is the state of goals flowing into both nets. For me, I would pick the player of the match to be Mitch Purse. I spoke about her a little earlier on. I think it's just important to, obviously, the midfield is where everything is commanded and how the possession changes. But Mitch Purse setting the tone with her runs. And as soon as Mitch Purse starts running fast, she sets the expectations for the entire team that you have to catch up to me. You have to be there when I want to pass the ball. So I think just setting the standards for Gotham FC. And as soon as Gotham FC raises their standards, NCC have to catch up, and they're chasing the ball always. So she just raised the expectations and standards for a great game of women's football. And for that reason, my player of the match was Mitch Purse. Yeah, over to you, Romel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you were right on so many notes over here. And what I would actually sort of want to do with this is go back a little bit, because I think one of the important details that we've I would say, not really paid enough of attention to is what this new management for Gotham has done. And, you know, just the whole mindset of saying that this is not who we are and this is what we want to do, setting that ambition, bringing that ambition to life with, this new renewed branding. And the branding itself was aggressive. And, the team has completely responded to that. I mean, North Carolina is a team that the minute you see it on, the opposing side, even in terms of a schedule, you're quaking, because that is a team that will steamroll anyone on their day, and for Gotham to come in, and just have that confidence. I mean, I love the confidence that Puja brought. I love the confidence that, Mitch first brought. And that is exactly the tone that you were talking They just came in with this mindset that they were not going to be awed by the occasion. They did not let North Carolina's amazing history and that full winning background sort of phase them at all. And that run from Mitch Burst from her own half to go in and score that goal is exactly what that team needed. And I think that was the momentum that they carried through the game. And I think, yeah, you were right when you said that the defense for both teams has to kind of go and have a look back at a whole bunch of video and just figure out why this game was so. But I think more critical was the fact that I think um, the way they had set up was an aggressive mindset where they were not afraid to go in and sort of take it to the offense. So I think in a way um, this I mean I at the end of the day I would rather have this match than a KG match. And this is another thing that we will come to obviously a little later. But just the fact that the teams are out there to make sure that they were doing something and play exciting football was, I think, a huge prop to both of these teams. And what we saw was not just a goal fest, but it was actually a celebration of what soccer can be. And I think great match for anyone. I mean, especially for us, waking up at 4:30 and then witnessing something like this. I think that was like really special. Yeah, and I think we saw some very critical things in this match, which is of course this new rule with the five-player, ability to substitute five players into the match. And we saw, Riley come in and completely change that backline of his four players from the backline that were substituted. And but you saw that what that suddenly brought was the fact that there was some stability. They were passing out more confidently to the back. There were lesser chances. And I think between that new backline coming in and the fact that when we saw VM come in for Gotham, for example, uh, I was I was really struggling to see how any of these teams could make an impact, because it sort of went into a stalemate. And people are just being very defensive in terms of not wanting to lose the match rather than wanting to win the match. And Wien was completely out of the game for very long periods, and she just didn't have the same sort of impact that, say, Monahan had in the match. Monahan was this terrier all over the pitch, and she was really taking the match to NC. Sorry. And so when she went off and Bien came in, there was a huge dip in terms of how the front line was then being able to possess the ball. And I was really thinking that Gotham had sort of missed a beat, missed a trick there, and they were in danger of actually not getting anything more on the board. And and that is actually the quality of Wien that people don't realize, is that at in a match when you're subbed in a match when you do not have the ball for such long periods, do have that confidence to do that at the end of the match, deep into extra time. There's nothing I can say about it except to be like, that is a player that you have to be watching out for, because given time to settle into a match and given time to actually play her game, she can be really dangerous. And I think uh, hands up. I mean, this is like, like I said, at the end of the day, I was really happy to have woken up and sort of witnessed this match, because it was just that it was a beautiful match. And I think it showcased everything that one could want. It was strategy. It was a lot of ideas into how an attack should be in motion. You saw how they moved from transitioning the ball, because none of the teams were direct. Both the teams were about possessions. both the teams were about trying to get the midfield to sort of boss around. Divina, for example. I mean, given any other time, any other match, that would have been a match-winning performance from anyone else. And you know, there you have it. At the end of the day, she's still on the losing side. So you can just see how closely this match was fought. So yeah, uh, if I have to pick someone, I mean, I would definitely back in most of the roster from Gotham because everyone was. It was that like I said, there was this terrier mentality. They just wanted the ball. Monahan especially was just like a pest in the box. Uh, so uh, again, but I would say it was that one, the first strike from first that sort of set the tone and showed the team that they could sort of beat NC on that day. And so I think, yeah, I would agree with you. That was also my pick, Mitch first for player of the match. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what can I say? Again, I think possibly match of the week.
Yeah, I think that's a consensus on Mitch first. I think from the entire NWSL community at this point, that was a fantastic performance. So we move from this first game to the next game, which is Chicago Red Stars versus Kansas City. Now we're moving over to the west side of the division, where Portland Thorns have locked a place in the final. They're on top of the table at 9 points. Romel, that means your and my team both have not made it, not done well. We're going to have to work on that. Hopefully, have some happier thoughts for the regular season. But these two teams, obviously, Chicago and Kansas, had a very cagey game. It ended 1-1, and there were no goals for 80 minutes. And then from 80 to 82nd minute, there were two goals. So it just shows you that just needed that little spur of energy into the game, which came very late on. And unfortunately for Kansas City, as soon as we got a goal, Chicago replied. I mean, that's just been the story of Kansas. We're not able to get out of that draw or that loss phase. We need one of those 3-point games. But yeah, just talking about the game, it was very cagey. It was back and forth. Compared to the previous game where it was very possession oriented, this one was more of long balls. I think we saw the goalkeepers really put the ball up there and just have their forwards run because the passing game wasn't working for whatever reason. And yeah, this game, moving on to the 80th minute, really, where the goal happened. Amy Rodriguez has been, and I feel like we don't talk about her enough because she's off the national team. I mean, that phase, her peak has gone, so we forget how good a player she really is. She has 2 Olympic goals, 1 World Cup goal. She's got, she's a mom as well, talking about that whole mom theme. But Amy Rodriguez actually is just that poacher and that one who's, again, like this pest, always in the box, always someone you need to look out for. Because Abby Smith puts in this long ball and Amy Rodriguez gets a head to it and it just it sprays out somewhere and it's just like rolling around in no man's land. But she just chases the ball. She says, I'm not letting this go. So it's almost as if she assisted her own goal because she heads it and then she chases it down. Sarah Gordon and Alyssa Nair have some miscommunication. The ball's just out there and she is running at full speed at the ball, and with the outside of her foot, she curls it around Alyssa Nair. I think that was one of the goals just of the entire 4 matches that we've seen, because that's just the hard work, the gritty Amy Rodriguez that we know. And I really love that she's the captain of this team because she sets that tempo for the entire team. Now, unfortunately, Katie Johnson replied in 2 minutes' time. Chicago were level with Kansas City. This game, I think, was one of those just, I don't want to remember this game. I don't know what happened here. Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the game, Katie Bowen had a goal line clearance. She headed the ball away. And we thought that this game was going to heat up. We thought this game was going to have a lot of chances. We didn't see too much of that. Not too many shots on target, just 2 for Kansas, 3 for Chicago. Yeah, possession pretty equal. All in all, I think Chicago got their first goal of the Challenge Cup. Kansas City, Amy Rodriguez has scored 2 out of 2 for Kansas City now. So we need someone else to step up as well if we want to go the extra mile and get that win. Yeah, disappointing performance as a fan of KC. But yeah, that's about it. Achha, yeah, my player of the match. So my player of the match, I think, just for everything that's happened, has to be Amy Rodriguez. I mean, this seems like an Amy Rodriguez fan count now. But I think just because she's carrying this team, she's the leader. And that beauty, moment of brilliance, that goal, I think I can watch that over and over. And often forwards either get player of the match because of their goals, or they get it because, you always hear the forward's name on the score sheet. But I think this time she really tracked back as well, and she was very vocal on the field and just tying all of that together. I think she was an all-round really great performance for Casey, and for that reason, yeah, I'm choosing her. But Romel, over to you for this game.
Yeah, I think yeah, again, great point. Uh, I think perhaps the worst scenario for this match was the fact that there was another match on, nearly at the same time, and especially having a match like the Washington Orlando game, for example, just showcased why this was like a really bad match, and it's now what the second match that Chicago has played that is that has just been this. They have just been lost.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think this team is gelling together, and which is a shame. And I don't understand how that could possibly happen when there is coach continuity, there is player continuity. These players have been together for such a long time, and for whatever reason, I think uh, if this match was actually any sort of a showcase, it was actually a showcase of how to pass the ball to your opponent. And, I hope this is like the last in the series, because this is not really a fun uh, video series for anyone. Pass the ball to your opponent 101. But yeah, I think beyond that, there's nothing really to write about except for the fact that my heart does go out to all the Chicago supporters, because these are people who have been there from the beginning of this whole NWSL, and to see a team just not have the ability to make an impact on the pitch, um, just like uh, it's not an ideal scenario for any support. And I really hope that just for the league itself and for their supporters, that somehow Chicago does find itself and identity by the time that they get to the league play actually. So but keeping that in mind, I think uh, we saw Katie Johnson sort of being subbed in in first half, which was really unusual. But she did bring a spark. I'm a big fan of Kejo, and I think she's someone with some out of this world skill. Again, I think a lot of problems with most of the forwards on the Chicago lineup, historically, is that they're left with scraps. There's very little that the team sort of tries and builds up to, and it's usually like a whole bunch of these hopeful balls that get sent out to the forwards. And we saw it, historically. It's been done with press. It was done with Kerr. It was them. They're trying to do the same with Kelia Ohio now. Sorry, Kelia Watt at the moment now. Uh, but I think from all of these players, if there is one player that actually has the ability to, you know, uh, sort of turn a game around, given those small little opportunities, I think Kejo is the player that they need to be focusing on rather than Kelia Watt. We've seen Kelia with the dash where she really made a mark, and the only reason that could happen is that there was usually a lot of support that takes focus away from her. You know, so when you have a defense that's also trying to take care of maybe two or three other forwards at the same time, is when Kelia Watt gets that space to be dangerous. And the problem with this current Chicago setup is that all the focus is on Kelia, and when that happens, it's very simple for defense to sort of get back, time her, and just make sure that she's not just being dangerous close enough to goal, for example. So yeah, and again, a really bad match in terms of just how the teams are possessing the ball. There was just no rhythm to it, and yeah, I think the highlight was definitely that Dino Rodriguez goal. And again, I think when you look at the career for Rodriguez, I you have to be really thankful for the NWSL, because I think is sort of that player who has never really been able to shine the same way that she has shown on in the NWSL, and uh, that doesn't mean she's a lesser player. It just means that he has managed to, especially play, when Blackpo was working with FCKC back then. That team was set up to have someone like a Holiday and Aerod really shine, and you saw them, thrive in those situations. That's basically what they do. They are players that need systems to be set up for them. So it's just that, and I think um, there's nothing too much that needs to be said about KC, because I think it's a new team. There's a new manager. They're trying to obviously find the identity. So there's nothing really too much that one can say about KC. But yeah, I'm just hoping that Chicago sort of finds its way around whatever is happening at the moment. My pick of the match, I mean, uh, I would have gone with K-Rod as well, but I think there was another player that did really well on the night, and that is Rachel Corsi. I think every time that Chicago did, run into very critical areas, and it was just the fact that they kept running into Corsi at various, and she was all over the pitch, practically high up defending, because Casey was really running a very high line, and it was just that. And so great play again from someone who, like isn't really the fastest player around, but she is so smart with what she does on the pitch, her positioning, and you saw that really take out that Chicago offense. And yeah, that's my pick of the game. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
moving
your
on.
analysis is spot on, because this is a Chicago team that made it to the Challenge Cup final last year. And I mean, the fans are wondering, everyone watching, neutral fans, just lovers of the NWSL are wondering what's happening to this team. So I guess they are wondering that too, because this is the first goal that they've got. So we're going to try to, give them some time and figure that out. Hopefully they come out stronger in the next game. Yeah, let's move on to game number 3. Now, game number 3 was Orlando Pride versus Washington Spirit. This ended 1-0 with Pride taking the win, their first win of the Challenge Cup. Right. So, let me just start us off here. This game obviously saw the US Women's National Team stars back, and I think both sides have key players that were missing out in the first 2 games. Obviously, the two teams put up good performances without those players as well, because they have decent players underneath. But we really see the big names sort of take the spotlight over here when. And I'm just looking at this, looking at the stats here, right? We have Orlando Pride, who've been trying to find their groove. Have they found it? I don't think so yet. I don't think we can say that. Washington Spirit have been on a high. They've been doing really well with a really rapid top 3 and a good midfield defensive line we've been talking about in the previous videos. Now, Washington has 20 shots. Orlando Pride have 8. Washington have 9 on target. Orlando Pride have 3. Possession is higher for Washington Spirit. They have 12 corners compared to Orlando Pride's just 2 corners. And we see that Pride has taken the win here. And again, we wonder that, what's gone wrong? The stats don't add up here, because the Pride goal was another moment of just lapse in concentration, whatever it might be, because Alex Morgan clearly just stole the ball off midfield, took 3 touches, passed it to Leroux, who was in behind, first touch into the goal, and that was it. I mean, they don't know what hit them on the counter really quickly. And then they were just wondering, how do we get back? How do we get back? And they really tried. I mean, they attacked. Washington Spirit attacked again and again. They got corners over and over. Trinity Rodman was really good in running in. Obviously, Ashlyn Harris has come up big. I don't think so. She saved now 2 penalties in 2 matches, and I feel like she didn't like the fact that we didn't talk about her save in the previous video too much, because it was an average penalty taken. So she went ahead and saved another penalty, so we can talk about it here. But this penalty was taken by Ashley Hatch, and it was a better penalty than the one that Naho took. I think not the greatest yet, but it was much more powerful. And we saw clear Ashlyn Harris mind games, jumping, pointing to one direction on the line, and then diving to the other side, making a save. The ball rebounded. I think she made another save as well. And right, that was probably one of the contenders for save of the week as well. Yeah, so it's been again a story of moms, as we've been talking about. Ashlyn Harris coming up big for this save. But yeah, we wonder again, And this, in fact, keeps the whole race for who's going to qualify open, because Washington Spirit were, about to take it to the top, but now they've lost all 3 points in this match. So yeah, it's just been one of those games that you wonder. It keeps things interesting. Obviously, we had a disallowed goal by Kelly O'Hara. There was that whole fiasco of I feel like, so Washington Spirit, what happened was they took the free kick really quickly and they passed it to the side, and O'Hara rifled it into the goal. And the Pride players, I didn't see any of the Pride players complaining really, but the ref said that you took the free kick too quickly. No one was ready. I don't know what that deal was about. And obviously Kelly O'Hara wasn't happy. Washington Spirit weren't happy. That probably dampened their spirits a bit and lost them on confidence. And O'Hara got a red card in the 90 plus second minute. I'm sure that was just a frustration foul by the end of the match. But yeah, that's a quick update from the match. Now, if I had to pick a player of the match, this is going to be interesting. So what I'm going to do is Romel, you're going to take your analysis and then I'm going to come back to my player of the match. So go for it. I'm going to just narrow it from a couple down to one.
Yeah, no, I think again, this just with the contrast with the Chicago match, I think this is just a joy to watch. I think um, there this is for after a very long time. I'm actually seeing a Pride team that has a whole bunch of components that I think want to be there and want to make a difference. And I think that has also sort of rubbed off on a whole bunch of the senior players on the team. So I think what we saw with Morgan at the top of the match was this defensive quality that I think she's been fairly criticized as well when we saw her back with Portland Thorns, and that was a consistent thing with her that you would never see her on a pitch putting in any sort of a defensive shift, and this was like such a refreshing change to see. And uh, between her, that connection with Leroux who set up that goal, and Ashton Harris at the other end taking care of business. It was just that, and I haven't seen a Pride game where the seniors have sort of taken the limelight in this manner before. And on the flip side, I would also say that for any of the Spirit fans out there, this game had everything. I don't think there was uh, any given point where the fans would have anything to criticize about this team because they were all hard. I think there's just a few details in terms of what they need to be doing better on the pitch, for instance. And I also think that there was a very interesting comment from one of the commentators when he mentioned that when they spoken to the coach, I think the focus was on the number of passes and the high percentage that they wanted out of the match. So I think um, in all fairness, if we look at this as not a competitive match, for example, and just look at it as a team trying to find its identity, then I think they did achieve that. Uh, and it's just like for them to now kick on from this and sort of then find who they want to be and how dangerous they want to be going up, because I think they had all the qualities that a top team should have. And given a little more experience, especially with their forwards, I think they can really, really be dangerous in the normal league schedule. So yeah, so I think great match from them as well. There were a lot of very close calls with balls hitting the goal post, and of course Ashton Harris coming big on a couple of occasions to sort of make this the match for the Pride. Um, for the Pride, of course, I think they've got some great notes to take from this match. I just wish that they would perhaps be a little more consistent with how dangerous they were. But yeah, another very quick note I will also add is that I think for the Spirit, they had a huge drop in terms of how solid they could be defensively with Sonnet coming in, because I don't think Sonnet really brought a good game in yesterday. I think she was really poor. There were a lot of decisions where she put the team into really tight spaces. So I think that is something that they need to look at. the addition of O'Hara, of course, really added some quality down that line. And I think, yeah, that goal was a shame. But at the end of the day, it was the right call. I think the ref had made it very clear that kickoff was to happen at the whistle,
Yeah.
and that didn't happen. So I think that was a fair call. So, but yeah, I think again another really good match. If I had to perhaps look at a player that sort of was the player of the match, uh, I would think even though Harris really did well, I think the person that really stole the show has to be Rodman. So I think, yeah, again, the internet was gaga. There were gifs all over the place showcasing that one. The way that she took on two, three players in that box. So I think just for I mean, Harris is obviously very popular. She's definitely going. Anytime she's up with a poll, for example, the fans just make sure that she wins. So I'm just gonna say not this time for Harris because she's obviously got a lot of plaudits in her lifetime. But I think I'll definitely give it to Rodman this time. So yeah, that is my take on the match.
Yeah, I think I was deciding between Harris and Rodman, but I'm going to take Harris, and I'm going to pick Harris because I know Pride is that fan group that they're almost like a cult where they have enough people to just. So Orlando Pride will win all online polls. I think that weekend we have established. But Ashton Harris, just purely looking at the stats right now, 12 corners that Washington Spirit had, which means she had to do a lot of work and be on the top of a game for the entire 90. And just for that reason, I'm going to give it to Ashton Harris. Obviously, 2 penalties saved. I think, incredible stuff. Pride are very, very lucky to have her. And because Pride could have really, really been in a bad shape right now if those penalties had gone in. It's like a simple spot kick. And the fact that she saved it 2 out of 2 times, it's incredible. So, yeah, my player of the match would be Ashton Harris. And with that, we move on to the last game that we're going to discuss in this video. Now, this is Portland Thorns versus OL Reign at Providence Park, a Cascadian clash. I think it had everything going for it. Romel, because it's your team, I'm going to hear your thoughts first. Portland were 2, Reign was 0. What did you make of it?
Yeah, so I think first up, this totally falls in line with something that I had mentioned at at a season preview where I said that I don't think Farid is the coach manager that this team required at the moment, and I think this match was very symptomatic of what that was. Especially in a derby when there is pride, on the line. Um, to see that you put out a team that you know wasn't really up to the mark, especially given the opponents, and that's something that the team is going to come back with, and really sort of second guess themselves because it's not about them not trying. It was just a lot of inexperience on that pitch that day, and it's not fair because. Uh, I don't think Farid gets the intensity of these clashes, the Cascadia clashes. And I think that is the sort of communication that also went out to the team. And, given that we saw players like, Angelina, we saw Hammond, we saw, Pruitt, for example, in the game, where you need that fire. And we saw that fire when, say, Jess Fishlock came. We saw the fire when a Rapino came out because it is all about pride for these people, and it's about if there is this one note that one takes away from the Cascadia rivalry is the first ever match that Seattle played against Portland in Portland back then. We were a team that had no stars. Okay, Hope Solo wasn't available, A Rod wasn't available, and there was a third player. I think Steph Cox wasn't available at that point. There was one more national team player that wasn't available. I think. Yet. So Rapino wasn't available at that point. So we were really a team that was struggling. Laura Harvey was struggling, and yet even though we were losing the match, there was this one goal that Jess scored, and there's that her celebration that sort of kicked off and just made this rivalry what it was always supposed to be. That's the fire that you need to be seeing, and we just didn't see it from the team on the night. And I think that was the most disappointing thing that I couldn't point out about the match. It's not about at what quality or at what level the match was played. I think it was more about the fact that uh, we weren't really set up to begin with to be in a position to sort of even take the game to the Thorns. And because you look at the Thorns roster and you saw that they were not holding back. It was the best team that they put out on that day, and it was the shame that we couldn't match it for whatever reason. And I think that has to go down and be questioned at the end of the day, because this is not an in a derby, for example, this is not what fans are looking for. Fans especially need that, mentality to come into a match where at the end of the day, we're still able to stand up to, a rivalry and say that, hey, even though we lost the match, we're really proud of what we did. And I don't think that is the case this time. So again, a very disappointing note, and this is all down on the selections and sort of tactics that we went into in the match in the first place. But apart from that, I think it was still a very entertaining match. Uh, I think there was some great football played from both sides. It was just that the rain wasn't dangerous enough, and we were constantly on the back foot for long periods of time. If I have to pick, my player of the match, I think it would be Crystal Dunn, uh, and this is purely just because of all the work that she's done behind the scenes. It's like uh, you saw her when she did not have the ball. She was in dangerous position. She was getting herself into spots where she was open for a passing lane. So it was all that work that actually made her really dangerous from the pitch, and because of her movement and what she was doing, is why players like Sinclair and Horan and even Sophia Smith, for example, had so much of room because she was keeping defenders occupied. So yeah, I think that was my take on the match, and yeah, please go for it.
Yeah, so this match obviously has high expectations. It's always had. I think Romel has given a great summary of the pride that goes into watching this match and having any outcome for both sides. Obviously, we saw the national team players back, not just US Women's national team, but also Jess Fishlock coming back, which was crucial. Obviously, Providence Park is this big home ground for Portland Thorns. It's one of the best stadiums in the NWSL, where fans always show up. There's always a lot of chanting. There's always very high energy in the crowd. And we've always spoken about that home advantage. And with this whole COVID break, that home advantage has been missed out because you don't have the fans screaming. But it was good to see them back. Obviously, Jess and Rapinoe getting cheers from the crowd just shows you how much they love football and they just love a good clash. And I think you're right. That's what was missing, really. That good clash was missing. Obviously, as a Portland fan, they must have been very happy with the 2 goals, with the great performance, with their stacked roster. I mean, Portland Thorns on top of the world. But they missed that good clash. And they were hoping that Rapinoe and Jess would provide some spark in the midfield. Not to be this time, but look, even Jess Fishlock tweeted saying that, bloody hate losing to Portland, but I don't hate playing in the stadium in front of those rowdy ass fans. That was her quote. And it just shows you what it means to the players to have good support. And even if it's an opposing side, it's just that atmosphere that's created. But talking about the game, look, the game ended 2 to Portland, 0 to Rain. Now it was a moment of brilliance by Lindsay Horan in the 17th minute. That free kick. Karen Balsley is pretty tall, okay. And she saw the ball and she stretched out, but she was not able to make it. I think she saw it a little bit late because it came over the wall. But, Balsley had a game and a half herself. I think she was fantastic, just given the 29 shots that Portland had on goal. But that free kick, obviously, it's like Lindsay Horan never left. I mean, it's a classic Lindsay Horan move in the NWSL. I think she scored one in a final also a couple of years ago. But look, that was that. And, Rain had to pick themselves up and move on after that. They had a few chances. Bethany Balser looked threatening. We had Zira King with her first start for Rain, which I really liked. I think that's a good boost of an influx of youth and energy into the lineup, which could provide useful in the coming matches. It was good to see that confidence put in her. But obviously, look, then the second goal we have like just shots being taken, Bazri having to parry it out, and then a miscommunication within the box. The defenders, it's kind of like pinballs in there. It squirts out for Simone Charlie to get the second goal, and Simone Charlie deserves the goal. I think she played really well. In the post match, she spoke about how it was her late grandmother's 94th birthday, who'd always wanted to watch her play football. And I think it was a really special moment for her personally, but also for a team. Crystal Dunn's first appearance at Providence Park in a home kit. Again, very, she spoke about how the fans really rile the team up as well. So all in all, not that cascading clash we were expecting. For a Portland Thorn, they're going to go back happy. For Rain fan, obviously, a lot of work to be done for the team. And obviously, again, it's similar to that Chicago thing where this is a really good team. It's a really good team. And you just feel for the fans, where the fans are wondering, hey, what is up with that lineup? And hey, are you taking this clash seriously? Do you know what's at stake here? Like, I think those questions, as you mentioned, always come up, and they will continue to come up. So, hopefully, again, the players will move on from that. They will learn and grow from that. But yeah, this game I think possession was pretty much equal, and everything it was a pretty docile match in terms of fouls and everything. Not too much going on there, but something that obviously with this win, Portland Thorns locked that place in the final. Now it's just a question of the other teams having some pride or some respect. That's all they can fight for now. So my player of the match, sorry, my player of the match again is very interesting. I would like to give it to. I mean, I can't give it to Karen Barsley because she's on the losing end, and because 2 goals is not you can't concede 2 goals. But I want to just give her a shout out for having a really good game. I mean, welcome to the NWSL. 2 matches in, she's made 10 plus saves. It's been quite incredible, and it's just testament to the quality that she brings to the league. And it's good to see, even just alone, it just gives so much influx into the league. I mean, she's bringing a whole set of viewers to the NWSL just to watch Karen Barsley, and she's putting on a great performance for people who don't know her. And now she's going to become a household name, and very soon in America as well. So that's a shout out to her. But Crystal Dunn, you mentioned, I feel like if you look at a heat map, I don't know if we find it, we'll put it into this video. Her heat map, she was this multi-position player for the Portland Thorns in this game, and she just everywhere. I mean, and you're so right when you say that she might not have had a goal contribution, but the fact that she keeps 2-3 defenders to herself, and the defenders are always wondering where Crystal Dunn is, opens it up for Sinclair, opens it up for Charlie, opens it up for Horan. And I mean, this roster, I don't know how someone's going to beat them. Hopefully Gotham can beat them in the final if it comes to that. That's going to be one to watch. But Crystal Dunn, it has to be Crystal Dunn, and just it's incredible. You come back from national team, you slot into your playing 11, you put on a performance like that. Quite incredible. It's hard to look past her at some stage. It would have been so cool to see Midge Purse on this team as well, but I'm glad Gotham's got her now and are using her really well. But yeah, that is my quick thought from this game as well. So yeah, we've wrapped up 4 games, 12 goals. It's been exhausting. It's been tiring, this whole just watching process, because obviously our sleep schedules are just completely upside down at this point, but it's worth it. And we're inching towards the championship match and the Challenge Cup. So we're gonna wait for that one. Before we wrap up, Romel, your goal of the week, there are 12 to choose from. Which one do you have?
Yeah, I think, again, this weekend was so packed with some really good goals that on any other given weekend, for example, a lot of them could have actually been, their own highlights of the week. But for me, I think the one that stood out was because it was the statement, and that was Smith versus goal itself. That run, taking on the entire backline, having and that it was everything. It was skill, it was pace, it was stamina to run that distance with the ball, and the confidence to start that pass. Casey Murphy was new in the NP goal, so I think that has to be my goal of the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the first goal of the weekend next time, because that was what I had in mind as well. But I'm gonna go for my second pick, which is the Amy Rodriguez goal. Now that goal has no consequence for Kansas City standings. It has no consequence for anything, but it's got consequences for A-Rod's confidence going into this massive season. It's got confidence for Kansas City having this very reliable poacher and classic center forward in Amy Rodriguez. And it's got confidence for the fact that you see her pick up a loose ball. Now it hit her head and it went off, and she sort of lost that ball, but she said, hey, it's there, no one's claiming it. She runs, she physically outmatches Sarah Gordon, and just that outside of the boot, I mean, that takes some sort of skill. She could have taken it with her left foot, but she chose to do that, the kind of masterpiece that she did. And yeah, I think for that reason, just as a proud KC fan, to see Amy Rodriguez golden form right now, it's got to be her. Hopefully KC can just keep that lead and just keep it in their pocket and zip it up, lock it up, and take it to the end final whistle. That'll be great. But for me, that was my goal of the week, Amy Rodriguez. When we share this video, we'll share the 2 clips with you as well on Twitter, so you can watch those goals there. And for everyone listening, I think this is going to be a bit of a longer video because we've had a lot to talk about, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a 7-goal thriller. This is the NWSL, guys. This is what it's all about. You've got really good matches. You've got matches where teams are just a little bit cagey and need to work on things. But we're approaching to that final destination, which is the championship match. So for everyone listening, if you're new to the NWSL, start following pages on Twitter, start following players. You'll just start getting updates. You'll be able to follow teams. It's hard to watch the game, so you can watch these videos. This is what those are for. But yeah, until then, Romel, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think really exciting. I think we're now in a space where I don't think, except for Chicago, of course, I don't think there's any really doubt about, at what level these teams are at, and what they're trying to do on the pitch. So I think it's that exciting space. I think the Challenge Cup by itself is a very interesting format, and I love that there has been serious thought in putting that into a regular schedule for the NWSL. So yeah, this is great. I mean, I'm loving how much of soccer, football that we are sort of getting entertained by at the moment. So yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, credit to the NWSL administration for including this. It's very easy to say, oh, that was a COVID manipulation that we did, and it's gone now. But it's good to see they've implemented it here. It's great for the players. I mean, they get a chance to witness and to experience this high intensity matchup, which in the NWSL sometimes you forget it because it's weekend and then a gap and then a weekend, and it goes on from there. But great to see that. And yeah, final thoughts were great, Romel. So we'll wrap this up here, guys. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see this show up on your feed more often. And we'll see you in the week 4 roundup, which will be also a preview to the championship match, I'm guessing. Yeah, we'll see you then. And until then, stay safe and keep watching football. Bye-bye.